Hi guys, today I am going to talk about my experience with food, especially with the hospital food in Moscow, and I had some expectations before I was admitted to the hospital, but naturally things don't always go as planned, and especially when you're traveling there is usually a different kind of food culture and culture in general, how things are done and so on. So since food is very important part of life in general, and our cells need food to use it as a fuel to generate their functions and to be able to function properly. So it's extremely important to have sufficient nutrition, especially during treatments, therapies like HSCT. So before I was in Russia, I packed my bag with all kinds of dry foods and noodles and candy, chocolate bars. Uh, well, in general, I had to take dry food. I couldn't take any like fresh food, vegetables or fruits or such things. And I knew that I would have to be without the foods that are fresh for a long time. But I also knew that I would be served about 3 to 4 meals a day in Russia by the hospital, and of course I would also have access to my own snacks and foods that I would be bringing to the hospital with me. So I automatically thought that all the food that I would have access to would be more than enough for the month that I would be spending, that I was spending in Russia. Well, if I have to say which was my biggest obstacle during my hospital period in Russia, it would definitely be the food. I was starving every day. I don't know, was it because was it due to the corticosteroids that were given from the very early days of the treatment to the very end of the treatment. Basically, throughout the treatment, I was pumped with corticosteroids were pumped into my system, which make most people more hungry and increase their appetite in general. And since I'm a relatively small, I have a quite low body weight, and I don't usually eat two large meals. I was definitely surprised by the fact that I was constantly in starvation. No food was enough, and of course I tried to eat as much as I could of the hospital food, but obviously the hospital food in general in every country is usually not very delicious, not something everybody likes to eat. And since there are patients from all over the world, people have different tastes, and also their eating habits vary very much from each other. So food is something very personal, I think. And in a hospital, you just get served bland food that has quite little taste, and it doesn't always, and you don't always feel, of course, you don't always feel that the food you are served each day is something you want to eat or it's enough for you. In my case, the food was okay, and it was quite healthy, and um, it was good food for considering the treatment that people undergoing HSCT have, what kind of limitations they might have due to the being immunocompromised for most weeks during the stay in the hospital. So the food also has to be safe to eat, and that's why you wouldn't be allowed to eat a lot of fresh things, and even the packed foods, not everything can be safely eaten due to the limitations that the treatment brings with it. And also, since patients are treated with at least one chemo agent or a cocktail of several chemo agents, the chemo might severely affect the taste. So, for example, I wasn't able to drink water. The water was fine. I had my jug that I used for filtering the water. I also boiled the water, so it was definitely safe to drink. And before starting with the chemo, the water was quite delicious to drink, and something that I'm used to drinking. If I compare it to the water I drink from the tap water I drink at home. So I didn't have any problem. But after I had started with chemo, I quite soon started noticing. I started noticing that my taste was somewhat altered, and the water tasted awful, and everything else tasted awful. So for many days, I had this altered taste. Even now, some foods I eat, and sometimes I still have that taste, but it's not that much that it would bother me and would make me stop eating. But during my HSCT, it was quite horrible, since if I think that I was starving, I had the altered taste, and the food that I had brought with me was awful, because my taste was so I was starving, and the food was bad and made me sick to my stomach. It wasn't the chemo, it was the altered taste, and combined to the food I had access to made me feel sick. I didn't expect things to be like that. Obviously, I knew that I would have some nausea and some limitations regarding eating, but I expected that I wouldn't have the appetite I had because of the nausea, but it was the right opposite. I was very, very hungry, but due to the taste, I couldn't eat. I really wanted to eat, but I couldn't, and there wasn't enough food for me, because I was constantly so much. I had such a hunger all the time throughout the treatment that I was so happy. I don't know if I could have asked for more food, or if I should have bought something from the Russian stores before the isolation period, or I don't know what I could have done differently. But something I really, really desired and really wanted to have was just fresh things. And since I had the treatment, and I had packed all these sugary and all these commercially processed foods that are safe to eat, but they are not healthy for you, don't provide any nutrients, they just give you energy. So from now on, I will stay away from those foods. I don't want ever in my life to eat unless I am absolutely forced to eat, which is a quite far-fetched if I think. Also, if I had to undergo HSCT second time, I would definitely just take everything fresh that is at least somehow related to like berries and fruits and vegetables, like dried and dried berries or berry seeds, nuts, anything that is considered superfood that really can help your cells, your mitochondria to access really beneficial energy to their use, for their use. And take, of course, less of those sugary and junk foods with me. But I guess I was lucky because I didn't have so much of that nausea. Instead, I was constantly hungry, so things definitely went uh, differently for me. And for somebody, it might be again the opposite. Some people don't have that hunger, but I have always had that kind of side effects from the corticosteroids. So it definitely makes sense why I had that kind of why I was starving. So yes, I definitely advise or recommend to be prepared when prepared for any kind of reaction and craving you could possibly have during HSC. Take healthy kind of foods if possible, and I definitely took quite a lot foods from home, and they were just enough for the 30 days, but it never hurts to take a bit more if you're able to take more. Just take more and you won't regret it. At least take something you, obviously since we're under people who undergo HSCT, they naturally have the urge to feed the body, the cells, with food that really has nutrients and has something more than sugar and butter and like wheat and processed chemicals and such things. So definitely it's important to think about the nutrition, whether it's good quality or whether it's nutrient dense food, and also to make sure that you are prepared for also for the days that you won't feel as good as the most of the days, because most people go through a lot periods of nausea due to the chemo, but even those days you really need to eat because you are going to lose weight, and that is very very alarming if you don't eat. Every day you need to eat, and also the hospital will provide you with some smoothies just to give you some extra energy, but not everybody likes the flavors, or not everybody likes because everything that comes in usually smoothies that come, they have good intentions to give you extra energy, but with the nausea, the artificial kind of taste doesn't always sit well into that kind of situation where you are suffering from nausea and feel unwell. So just I recommend personally to be prepared for any kind of situation where you don't feel okay eating something you are used to. So, but I would definitely pack something that can be safely eaten, but it comes from a fresh fruit or berry or vegetable. So, and also is nutrient dense and has antioxidants and flavonoids and fiber and well, of course energy, is that is what we need. Our bodies need the right kind of nutrition. If I think The foods or the snacks I enjoyed the most during even the most difficult days, and there were actually a couple of things I really enjoyed eating despite all the mild nausea I had chronically during the HSCT treatment. Probably number one favorite candy I had was salt licorice. I liked lollipops, sucking lollipops for the chemo days, and they really helped me get through the difficult days with chemo, since my taste was altered from the very beginning with the chemo. Salted licorice was actually much better than the fruity ones. And also, if I think I probably enjoyed eating salty things more than sweet things, which is not typical for me, because usually I don't eat salty things too much. I enjoy sweet stuff. But during HSCT, I really enjoyed eating breadsticks that had spinach and olive oil. Greek style breadsticks, that were those kind of foods I would still enjoy eating without a doubt. But all the rest, the candy bars, all the commercial like junk food is something I don't want ever eat, and it's better for me because that kind of food only harms your body and promotes inflammation and brings your blood sugar levels out of balance. Also, I don't know why I didn't bring with me baby food, because pureed baby food is pureed fruit usually, or cooked food that has no special seasoning, and it's perfectly safe to eat, and something that I started eating right after my discharge and returned from Russia. So naturally I should have brought a lot of baby food, because that is the closest to fresh food I could have had during HSCT. So many things I should have done differently, but here I am, alive and not malnourished. I'm doing okay and just enjoying my life, since I now have the ability to eat fresh things as long as I wash and sanitize and disinfect my food, especially the berries, since now it's berry season here and I really am looking forward to it. So food is definitely an important part, because in such a tiny room, and since you are going to be confined into basically one room for weeks, it's important that you know that you are okay, you're fine with the nutrition you are having and you have access to, because that might drive you crazy if you are not okay, if you don't have enough to eat, and especially when things don't taste good. It's extremely important, not only for your body, your cells, to get all the right nutrients and the the all the tools to be able to build new healthy cells. It's also important for your mind to stay sane, because it's not easy to be hospitalized for 30 days, especially if you haven't gone through that in the past. So it's extremely important to be well prepared and pack things that you know that you will be eating and want to eat. Make sure that you are not starving like I was, because there are many things, tough things you need to undergo during HSCT, but at least by taking enough food and food that you will be able to eat, you will make sure that you won't be starving, at least not severely, and it will make the HSCT journey much easier, considering that there will be many struggles during HSCT. But nutrition is very important. So that was the main message, but that is something definitely guys knew already, but I just want to emphasize that food was definitely one of the biggest, toughest things for me during HSCT. The lack of food and that I wasn't able to eat normally with my altered taste. But everybody's different. I hope your HSCT journey or your experiences have been better than mine, but it's always difficult to compare between different people, because people have different expectations and different preferences. So for me, starving is not very easy, because usually, but that was, again, but maybe I was just too sensitive. I thank you for your attention. Thank you for watching this video, and hope to see you next time. Bye bye.